Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we crack open the source files on the world's most enduring icons, giving you the strategic blueprint of how a global career is truly built.
And today, we are deep diving into the phenomenal architecture of Celine Dion.
A woman whose voice is, instantly recognizable, but her career is so much more than a collection of records.
It's a financial empire. An empire built on, yes, power ballads, but also on relentless, calculated risk.
And when you synthesize the sources covering her life, you realize you're not just studying a musician.
No, you're examining a commercial and cultural juggernaut. The numbers are, frankly, staggering. They put her in a league occupied by only a handful of artists in history.
Okay, let's unpack that immediately, just so you, our listener, can get the top-level metrics and understand the scale we're dealing with.
Go for it.
We are talking about a singer who has sold well over 200 million records worldwide.
Which puts her right alongside names like Madonna, Michael Jackson, the absolute top tier in terms of global commercial impact.
But here's the nugget that I think really defines her strategy. It's this dual supremacy.
That dual supremacy is the absolute foundation of her business model. She is simultaneously the best-selling Canadian recording artist of all time.
And the best-selling French-language artist of all time.
Exactly. Just think about the logistical and cultural challenge of maintaining those two massive, often very different fan bases at the absolute pinnacle of success.
And globally, she earned that moniker Queen of Power Ballads, which, it's catchy, but it also kind of minimizes the sheer technical might and vocal control required to deliver those huge emotional anthems night after night for decades.
Well, our mission in this deep dive is to trace that unlikely roadmap. How did an artist who started in, genuine poverty in rural Quebec build a strategic empire that conquered two separate language markets? We're going to analyze the record-breaking success in places like the UK, where her sales sometimes rivaled only the Beatles. We'll dedicate a lot of time to the audacious financial gamble she took in Las Vegas, a move that redefined the entire entertainment industry there.
And finally, we have to look at the extraordinary personal resilience she's demonstrated over the last decade.
Culminating in that emotionally charged, just, undaunted return at the Paris Olympics, which really served as a powerful testament to her enduring strength.
And speaking of paradoxes, this is where it gets really interesting right from the start. We have a figure who was consistently dismissed by some critics for what they called excessive sentimentality or being formulaic in her English catalog. Yet she achieved sales numbers that are only comparable to the absolute all-time greats. She leveraged emotional resonance into unprecedented global financial clout.
And to understand how, we have to rewind. All the way back to her earliest days.
So let's rewind to the beginning. 1968, in the small town of Charlemagne, Quebec. The sources paint this wonderfully vivid, almost Dickensian picture of her formative years.
It's a picture that grounds this future global star in genuinely humble, even challenging beginnings.
Miles away from the glamour of the Coliseum in Vegas.
Oh, absolutely. Celine Marie Claudette Dion was the youngest of 14 children. Her father was a butcher and her mother a homemaker. And they really struggled financially.
And the poverty was so stark. The sources provide this one anecdote that it really hits you.
The sleeping in a drawer.
Sleeping in a drawer. As a baby, she actually slept in a drawer instead of a crib because it was a cost-saving necessity.
That image perfectly encapsulates the incredible distance she traveled. Growing up with 13 older siblings in a tiny home, it was a life of scarcity, of constant hand-me-downs.
But that environment of shared scarcity was also this incredible hub of music, wasn't it?
It was. Her mother, Thérèse, was the center of their musical world. Her name, Celine, was actually taken from a French song recorded by Hugues Offray just 2 years before she was born.
And the family ran a small piano bar.
That's right, Le Vieux Baril, the old barrel. Her entire childhood education essentially revolved around performing there with her siblings. Her very first public performance was at age 5 in 1973.
So she had this intensely supportive musical family environment, but outside of the house, she faced a really painful reality that we see reflected in the source material.
Absolutely. The sources note significant bullying at school. She was mocked, called vampire, because of her large teeth and skinny frame.
And that cruel moniker, sadly, it followed her into her teenage years.
It did. Local tabloids, with their characteristic lack of grace, cruelly dubbed her Canine Dion. This early experience with public criticism and self-consciousness likely played a major role in her later willingness to undergo that complete image transformation.
And that feeling of alienation from the outside world seems to be why she had such a distinct view of formal education.
Well, she summarized it herself. She said, "I detested school. I had always lived surrounded by adults and children a lot older than me. I learned everything I needed to know from them. As far as I was concerned, real life existed around them."
That intense family focus led directly to the pivotal moment that launched her career.
A truly collaborative family effort, written right there in the kitchen. At age 12, she collaborated with her mother and her brother Jacques to write her very first song, Ce n'était qu'un rêve.
It was only a dream.
Exactly. And they sent that demo tape to René Angélil, a well-known music manager whose name her brother Michel found on the back of a Jeanette Reno album.
Angela's reaction to hearing that tape for the first time is legendary, isn't it?
It is. He was reportedly moved to tears, and immediately, despite the 26-year age difference, she was 12, he was 38, he decided to dedicate himself to turning her into a global star.
And that dedication wasn't just emotional, it was immediate and extreme financial commitment.
And this is the first indicator of the high-stakes risk that would define their entire partnership. In 1981, to fund her very first record, La Voix du Bon Dieu,
He mortgaged his home?
René Angélil literally mortgaged his own home. He put everything on the line. And that record became an instant local #1 hit, making her a star in Quebec overnight.
That pattern of massive personal and financial risk undertaken by Angélil would just define their entire professional trajectory. And the momentum started building internationally almost immediately.
It did. By 1982, she was on the world stage, competing in the Yamaha World Popular Song Festival in Tokyo. She won the gold medal for Best Song and the Top Performer Award.
Wow.
The next year, 1983, she became the first Canadian artist to receive a gold record in France for her single D'amour ou d'amitié. The regional success was undeniable.
But regional wasn't enough for Angélil. He saw a global vision, and that required a radical transformation, one inspired by, of all people, Michael Jackson.
It was a conscious, almost clinical pivot. When she was 18, after seeing a Michael Jackson performance, she realized she couldn't achieve true worldwide fame with her current image.
Angélil agreed.
He knew that the English-speaking world was unforgiving about image, so she completely withdrew from the spotlight. She underwent dental surgery, directly addressing those cruel tabloid and school nicknames, and then, crucially, she was sent to the École Berlitz in 1989 to learn English from scratch.
All essential preparation for the Anglophone market.
But before that English debut, though, she secured a major international marker, one that often baffles listeners in North America.
The Eurovision Song Contest.
That's right. In 1988, she represented Switzerland, not Canada, and she won the contest in Dublin with Ne partez pas sans moi. This was a significant early step in proving her appeal beyond Francophone territories.
And just as she was transforming her image, she hit a major physical hurdle, a vocal injury.
Yeah, a really scary moment during the Incognito tour in 1989. She injured her voice, and when she consulted Dr. William Gould, he gave her this absolute career-defining ultimatum.
Surgery or silence.
Undergo immediate surgery or commit to 3 weeks of total, absolute vocal silence. She chose silence, followed by intensive vocal training. That moment just underscores how precious and sometimes fragile her instrument was, even at the beginning of her global ascent.
So once the English language and the modernized image were firmly established, the true global strategy began in the 1990s.
And this is the decade where the core duality of her career, the French versus English success, and the dramatic difference in critical reception, becomes the dominant theme.
Let's dissect that shift. 1990, she released her debut Anglophone album, Unison. The sources note it was influenced by 80s soft rock, produced by industry heavyweights like David Foster.
And it earned critical praise for her vocals being, I think the quote was, tastefully unadorned. It was a successful launch, giving her her first U.S. Billboard Hot 100 Top 10 hit.
That was the foundational step, proving she could transition.
But the true international breakthrough, the thing that put her on the map globally, was the 1991 duet with Peabo Bryson on the title track for Disney's Beauty and the Beast.
Of course.
That single secured her first top 10 hit in the UK, it cemented her presence in the US awards circuit, and it won her first Grammy Award for Best Pop Performance.
And her subsequent 1992 self-titled album was a monster commercial success.
Certified Diamond in Canada, double platinum in the US. It was huge.
But wait a minute. She's just conquered North America, won a Grammy, she's an international superstar. Why would her home fans in Quebec turn against her at that exact moment?
It's fascinating, and it speaks to the deep cultural and political significance of Quebecois identity.
Hmm.
The sources explicitly mention severe criticism from her French fans, who felt she was neglecting them in favor of Anglophone mainstream success.
She had successfully wedged into the English market, but at the cost of appearing to abandon her roots. That's a huge strategic problem for Angélil to solve.
And she solved it in one of the most brilliant pieces of public relations damage control I think we've ever seen in music history. It was masterful.
The Felix Awards.
At the 1991 Felix Awards, Quebec's main music industry awards, she won English Artist of the Year. She walked up to the stage and publicly, powerfully declined the award.
And what did she say?
She asserted that she was, and always would be, a French, not an English artist. It was a dramatic move that reassured her core Francophone base, proving her loyalty, while simultaneously accepting the global fame that came with her English work.
It's such a delicate dance, managing that identity. And meanwhile, her personal life was becoming very public.
In 1993, she took the bold step of revealing her romantic relationship with René Angélil, 26 years her senior, in the liner notes of her third English album, The Color of My Love.
Declaring him the color of my love.
Exactly. She had feared a public backlash given the age gap and his role as her mentor, but the sources indicate the fans actually embraced the deep romance and dedication they saw. They married extravagantly in 1994, a major Canadian media event.
And commercially, this album didn't just succeed, it absolutely exploded.
The Color of My Love solidified her global status. It was a massive international hit, selling over 6 million copies in the U.S. alone, and giving her her first U.S., Canadian, and Australian #1 single with The Power of Love.
But the dominance in the UK is genuinely shocking here. The sources note that her album, The Color of My Love, and the single Think Twice simultaneously topped the British charts for 5 consecutive weeks.
5 weeks.
I mean, to have both the album and a single sitting at #1 for that long, that is a feat of consistent popularity.
It absolutely confirms the crossover gamble paid off spectacularly. Think Twice became only the 4th single by a female artist in UK history to sell over 1 million copies.
Yeah.
She had built a fortress of popularity in a crucial European market.
And yet, despite all this Anglophone success, she returned to her roots to release what many still consider her artistic high point.
We have to pause here for Je, released in 1995. This is the French-language masterpiece, sometimes called the French album.
And it's the best-selling French-language album of all time.
Of all time, full stop. And crucially, it was mostly written and produced by Jean-Jacques Goldman, and it achieved a critical credibility and artistic depth that few of her English albums at that time had matched.
That's fascinating. So she manages to prove her loyalty to the French market with the biggest album in that language ever, while simultaneously launching her into the stratosphere with Falling Into You.
Exactly. Falling Into You in 1996 was the apex of her mid-90s popularity. Critics loved it, calling it elegant and remarkably well-crafted. The production complexity was noted.
Right, they were mixing large, complex orchestral sounds with African chanting and exotic instruments like the cavaquinho.
And it won the 2 biggest Grammys, Album of the Year and Best Pop Album. It achieved 9X Platinum status from the IFPI, which is an accolade reserved for only the rarest mega hits.
And that reach extended to massive international spectacle, like her performance of The Power of the Dream at the Atlanta Summer Olympics opening ceremony in 1996.
She followed that up in 1997 with Let's Talk About Love, which was described as the sequel to Falling Into You, designed to cement her status.
And it featured enormous collaborations with legends, Barbra Streisand, the Bee Gees, Luciano Pavarotti.
But all roads lead to the biggest song of the decade,
My Heart Will Go On.
the Titanic theme song. This sealed her place in cultural history. With over 18 million copies sold globally, it stands as the second best-selling single by a woman worldwide.
Wow.
It earned her 2 Grammys personally and cemented her UK dominance, making her the only woman in British charts history to have 2 singles sell over 1 million copies each, alongside Think Twice.
So by the close of the decade, she was a true monarch of pop, amassing over 130 million records sold.
Correct. She wrapped up the 90s with a compilation All the Way. A decade of song in 99, featuring a symbolic duet with Frank Sinatra. It became one of the best-selling compilation albums ever.
She was celebrated at VH1's Divas Live in '98 alongside Aretha Franklin and Mariah Carey.
And received the Officer of the Order of Canada and the French Legion of Honor. The shy, bullied girl from Charlemagne was now officially globally decorated royalty.
Okay, so this level of fame and success brings us to the new millennium and a bold move that defines the next chapter of her career.
A huge move, stepping away from the spotlight at her absolute peak and then strategically betting her entire brand on a new, unproven concept in Las Vegas.
That decision in 2000 was a massive surprise to the industry after releasing 13 albums in the 90s.
The operational burnout must have been immense.
Right, so she announced an indefinite hiatus. The reasoning was deeply personal. She wanted to enjoy life and critically support René Angélil after he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer.
But even during the hiatus, she couldn't fully escape the public eye. She even had to fight back against the tabloid machine.
She was still a global commodity.
Exactly. In 2000, she sued the National Enquirer for over $20 million for a false story claiming she was pregnant with twins. The magazine issued a full retraction and apology, making a donation to the American Cancer Society in their name.
It reinforced her dedication to privacy, even as she was trying to build a family.
And the eventual return to the spotlight was anchored entirely in her new role as a mother. After undergoing fertility treatments, she gave birth to her son, René Charles, in 2001.
And her return album, A New Day Has Come, in 2002, reflected that seismic personal shift.
It focused heavily on themes of motherhood and rebirth. She explicitly called the baby the center of the album, stating, "Becoming a mother makes you a grown-up."
The sources confirm that this highly personal focus translated into immense global sales. It debuted at #1 in over 17 countries.
But the critical reviews were tepid, weren't they?
Yeah, they called the lyrics lifeless or the material trite.
Which just confirms that ongoing critical duality. But commercially, the power was undeniable. And that commercial power provided the leverage for the real strategic pivot, Las Vegas.
Let's talk about the Las Vegas revolution, because at the time, committing to a residency was generally perceived as a slow career death for a superstar in their prime. Why was this considered such a risky move?
It was incredibly risky because the residency model back then was reserved almost exclusively for legacy acts, artists who were winding down their careers, relying on nostalgia, who couldn't sell out huge stadiums anymore.
And Celine was at her global peak. Announcing a residency was seen as stepping off the main stage.
But she didn't just sign a contract. She invested in a completely new model.
That's the genius of the move.
In early 2002, she announced a 3-year contract for 600 shows, appearing 5 nights a week. And crucially, they built a custom 4,000-seat arena just for her, the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace, at a cost of over $95 million.
A custom theater.
This custom-built theater guaranteed exclusivity, it provided technical perfection, so no compromises on staging or sound, and it offered a steady, predictable income stream that global touring simply couldn't match.
The journalist Miriam Nuncio called it one of the smartest business decisions in years by any major recording artist.
And history proved that right. The success of the first show, A New Day, was phenomenal. It redefined the city's entertainment landscape.
It was a routine sellout.
Ran for 717 shows and generated over $385 million in gross revenue, becoming the most successful concert residency of all time. But she didn't stop there.
She literally copied her own success.
She did. Her second residency, Celine, which ran from 2011 to 2019, became, wait for it, the second most successful residency of all time.
So the two most financially successful residencies in entertainment history both belong to the same woman.
It's a testament to sustained drawing power and the strategic brilliance of the pivot. Collectively, she is the highest-grossing residency act in history, with a combined gross of $681 million from those 2 shows.
She is rightly recognized as the Queen of Las Vegas.
For not just succeeding, but for revitalizing and revolutionizing the entire city's entertainment scene, proving that Vegas was a destination for A-list current-era talent.
And this financial data extends beyond Vegas and defines her entire decade.
The Los Angeles Times named her the top-earning artist of the entire 2000s decade. When you combine album sales and concert revenue, she exceeded $747 million.
Wow.
And Polestar backed this up, crowning her the highest-grossing solo live music act in North America for the decade, pulling in over $522 million in touring revenue alone. The stability of the Vegas income freed her from the relentless cycle of international touring while maintaining unprecedented wealth generation.
And she was a savvy entrepreneur, extending her brand far beyond just music and live performance.
Absolutely. The empire was multifaceted. She founded Les Productions, Feeling Inc., which handles her management and production. She's the founder of the Nichols restaurant food chain, though she divested in '97. She also owns Le Mirage Golf Club and holds a stake in Schwartz's restaurant.
But her biggest non-music venture, one that's often glossed over, was the Celine Dion Parfums line with Coty.
And the Parfums line was not just a side project, was it?
No, it was a major strategic move to democratize her luxury brand. It has grossed over $850 million in retail sales since its inception in 2003.
So this wasn't a niche, high-end fragrance.
No, this was a mass-market, accessible product line that ensured her name and image were available globally in department stores and drugstores. It's a classic example of turning celebrity equity into repeatable, massive revenue streams.
All of this led to her receiving the Chopper Diamond Award from the World Music Awards in 2004 for selling over 100 million albums.
Just a clear marker of commercial supremacy built on a foundation of dual-language success and that unprecedented strategic pivot to the stable gold mine model of Las Vegas.
Now, let's pivot away from the dollars and the strategy to what made all this possible,
Yeah.
her voice. The sources offer a deep, rich analysis of her technical instrument, and for you, our listener, we really need to dive into those technical details.
Her vocal talent is universally cited as technically virtuosic and overwhelmingly powerful. Her voice is generally described as a mezzo-soprano.
Known for its ability to bridge the gap between high and low registers with strength. Though it's interesting, we have sources noting that Maestro Kent Nagano once suggested she might be a soprano after an audition, which just highlights the unusual flexibility and range of her instrument.
So, what are the unique characteristics of her sound, her timbre?
Her voice has a distinctive timbre, often described as having a raspy lower register that gives way to bell glass-like high notes. But the praise from critics focuses less on the color and more on the technical control.
Give us some of those details. What makes her unique from a musician's standpoint that goes beyond just she sings loud?
Well, her technical virtuosity is about control. Critics consistently praise her ability to hit notes in full voice with an incredible conception of pitch. She has phenomenal breath control, allowing her to sustain incredibly long notes without the tiniest wavering of pitch.
And she's a master of melismas.
A master. And for our listeners, those are those incredible, dizzying runs of notes sung gracefully on a single syllable.
The famous encapsulation of her Power by Jim Santella seems to perfectly capture this duality.
Yes, Santilla described her voice as possessing an iron fist in a velvet glove. That strength, hidden within a velvety emotional sound, is the key to delivering those massive, complex power ballads that became her signature. It requires immense core strength and technical training.
It's no surprise, then, that her influences read like a vocal hall of fame.
Her idols are a who's who of vocal range and emotional depth. Michael Jackson, Aretha Franklin, Barbra Streisand, Carole King, and Whitney Houston. It's a testament to her talent that she eventually collaborated with most of them. And let's not forget, Michael Jackson was the main inspiration for her to even learn English back in the 80s.
Yet, despite this widely acknowledged technical genius, the critique of her English musical style remains persistent and often quite hard in the sources. Why this constant duality?
This is the central conflict of her commercial career. Her English music, primarily melodramatic soft rock ballads and pop, was often criticized as banal, formulaic, and overproduced.
And the root of that critique often lay in the perceived lack of her own creative input.
Exactly. She was often partnered with big-name producers like David Foster, who were hired specifically to deliver structurally perfect, mass-market power ballads tailored for movie soundtracks and radio play. This often minimized her artistic stamp in favor of technical perfection. Critics saw her as an unparalleled technical instrument delivering impersonal material.
And the contrast with her French work really makes that criticism stick.
Precisely. Her Francophone albums, particularly Deux, consistently received far more critical credibility. They were viewed as deeper and more varied, featuring more collaborative writing and nuanced production.
Jean-Jacques Goldman noted that when working with her, she has no problem of accuracy or tempo.
Which reflects the high level of technical and artistic proficiency she brought to her French projects, where she felt more secure in the language and, therefore, more creatively involved.
She consciously tried to change that, didn't she?
She did. She later stated she regretted her lack of input on her first English album because she didn't yet have a firm command of the language. By her second English album, she consciously took more control and later co-wrote songs on albums like These Are Special Times.
And we should mention her linguistic dedication. She has recorded across 7 languages beyond French and English.
Japanese, Italian, German, Mandarin, Spanish, Neapolitan. It showcases an incredible commitment to international reach.
Beyond the music, her unique public persona, her accent, her distinct gesticulations on stage often made her a target for satire.
Yes, she was frequently and famously parodied on shows like SNL and South Park. But her response to this reveals an immense self-possession. She stated she was flattered and entirely unaffected by the comments.
In a move that disarmed her critics, she even invited Anna Gasteyer, who parodied her on SNL, to join her on stage during a performance in New York City.
That level of confidence just turns potential critique into cultural validation.
And finally, we see her use that powerful public platform for philanthropy and, occasionally, for pointed political commentary.
Her philanthropic history is extensive, notably with the Canadian Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, driven by the loss of her niece Corinne to the disease. But the most striking moment of public critique came in 2005, following the devastation of Hurricane Katrina,
She appeared on Larry King Live.
and delivered tearful, passionate criticism of the slow U.S. government response.
She didn't hold back at all.
No, she asked pointedly, how can it be so easy to send planes in another country to kill everybody in a second and destroy lives? We need to serve our country.
While she later clarified her position, saying, "I do have an opinion, but I'm a singer, I'm not a politician," that incident highlighted a deep-seated empathy and a willingness to leverage her platform for causes she believed in.
Which is rare for an artist whose brand relies on broad, non-controversial appeal. The last decade of Celine Dion's life is a chapter defined less by financial statements and more by profound personal loss, a difficult, long medical journey, and an unwavering demonstration of human strength.
This period began in 2014 with an indefinite hiatus that signaled major personal hardship had superseded her professional commitments.
That abrupt halt of all show business activities, including her Las Vegas residency and an Asia tour, was necessitated by the worsening health of René Angélil after his cancer diagnosis. She returned briefly in March 2015, trying to balance her roles, but the personal strain was clear.
And then came the tragedy in January 2016.
René Angélil died of throat cancer on January 14, 2016, at age 73. His funeral, 21 years after they married, was held at the Notre Dame Basilica in Montreal.
And the sources note her almost unbelievable resilience.
She canceled the January shows, but by February 23, 2016, she returned to her residency for a sold-out crowd. To withstand that level of loss, her husband, her manager, the architect of her entire career, and return to perform for thousands within 6 weeks is an act of professional dedication that few artists could ever manage.
And tragically, just 2 days after Angela's death, her brother, Daniel, also died of cancer.
The famous show business adage, "the show must go on," became her mantra during this period.
Reflected in her performing Queen's song of the same name later that year.
Indeed. She also continued her recording career, releasing the French album Encore un soir in August 2016, which was hugely successful, being certified diamond in France.
It proved her francophone market appeal remained enormous, even amidst intense grief.
Later that year, she received the Billboard Icon Award, presented to her by her eldest son, René Charles.
But just as she navigated personal tragedy and public grief, a new, far more complex health challenge began to emerge, one that would redefine her career trajectory completely.
Yes. In 2018, she first dealt with hearing irregularities due to patulous eustache and tube, requiring surgery. But that was a minor issue compared to the far more severe diagnosis that she would eventually share publicly.
In December 2022, she announced her diagnosis of stiff person syndrome, or SPS. For those unfamiliar, what exactly is SPS and how does it impact a vocalist?
SPS is a rare, progressive neurological disease. It causes rigidity, fluctuating muscle spasms, and heightened sensitivity to external stimuli like noise or touch. For a vocalist, the impact is devastating.
Because it affects the core and diaphragm.
Right, making breath control and the sustained delivery of complex notes her signature technical skill, extremely difficult, often painful, and unpredictable. This immediately led to the cancellation of her Courage World Tour.
What's truly heartbreaking about the recent disclosures is how long she struggled before getting an answer. The sources say 17 years.
That is correct. She disclosed in 2024 that she had struggled with the mysterious, debilitating symptoms for 17 years before receiving the official SPS diagnosis in August 2022.
I mean, just think about that.
Almost 2 decades of performing, managing the biggest residency in the world, while battling an unknown condition that was intermittently affecting her ability to walk and sing. She described the period leading up to the diagnosis as going down, down, down.
That puts her career in the 2010s in a completely new light. She was fighting this battle internally while maintaining her public persona and career.
Absolutely. She is currently under the care of Dr. Amanda Piquet, a specialist in autoimmune neurology, and her charitable foundation has taken a leadership role, donating $2 million over 5 years to support autoimmune neurology research.
It shows her commitment to turning her personal struggle into a public benefit. And despite the severity of the illness, 2023 and 2024 mark a carefully managed, triumphant return to the public eye.
That return began with non-singing work, making her acting debut as herself in the film Love Again in 2023. This provided a soft re-entry,
And in June 2024, the documentary I Am Celine Dion was released.
offering the world an intimate, unvarnished look at her life with SPS, controlling her own narrative during this vulnerable time.
And then, the moment that stopped the world, the highly symbolic climax of her comeback narrative, the Paris Olympics.
On July 26, 2024, she made her first public performance in 4 years, singing the iconic Hymn à l'amour from the Eiffel Tower to conclude the Summer Olympics opening ceremony.
It was a globally televised, powerfully symbolic return.
The Guardian reviewed the performance as an undaunted, beatific return, noting that she sang with the gusto of someone who, by her own admission, longs to resume touring more than her fans. It was an act of defiance through artistry.
This public moment was immediately followed by strategic new music releases, demonstrating that even amidst her health battle, the commercial machine keeps moving.
We saw the release of the popular Set My Heart on Fire mashup in 2024, and Sebastian Ingrosso released a remix of her 2002 single A New Day in 2025. She also performed I'm Alive and The Power of Love at an Al Saab fashion show in Riyadh in November 2024, continuing to strategically build momentum for a future return.
As we look back across these decades, her legacy goes far beyond the incredible concert revenue and album sales. It's about cultural impact and redefining industry norms through sheer willpower and strategic foresight.
We have to start with quantifying the formal accolades because they illustrate the breadth of her success. She has won 5 Grammy Awards, 20 Juno Awards,
And she's the most nominated artist in Juno history with 75 nominations.
and 12 World Music Awards. Her Canadian and French honors place her in the absolute highest echelons of both cultures, making her a national treasure in 2 nations simultaneously.
She was elevated to the Companion of the Order of Canada, the second highest civilian honor, and received the French Legion of Honor.
In terms of pure sales metrics, she is among the top-selling music artists in history, with sales exceeding 200 million worldwide. 7 of her albums have sold over 10 million copies globally, which is the second most among women in history.
And her dominance in the crucial North American market, the Nielsen SoundScan era, remains highly impressive.
She is the second best-selling female album artist of the Nielsen SoundScan era, with 53.2 million album sales. She is also the 6th most successful female artist in Billboard 200 chart history, having scored #1 albums across 3 consecutive decades, the 90s, the 2000s, and the 2010s.
That is unparalleled longevity at the highest level.
We've established the enormous financial legacy, but let's circle back to the industry revolution she sparked, because that is perhaps her biggest non-musical achievement.
Her Vegas residencies changed the model entirely.
She took a format that was viewed as predictable, reserved for legacy acts, and transformed it into a premier, high-grossing venture for contemporary superstars. The custom-built theater, the long-term commitment, the stable, high-margin revenue.
The sources credit her with single-handedly revitalizing and revolutionizing the Las Vegas entertainment scene.
Earning her the undisputed title, Queen of Las Vegas.
And culturally, she served as a crucial bridge for French music globally, something that her Francophone fans can always hold on to.
RFI Musique suggested that French music would probably never have got beyond Francophone borders without her. Her strategy of concurrently releasing and pushing French repertoire internationally introduced countless non-Francophones to that genre. She was a gateway artist for an entire language market.
It's also interesting how her public image evolved, especially in the fashion world, reflecting her ever-changing cultural status.
Absolutely. Fashion critics, including Vogue, recognize her radical style reinvention in the 2010s. She moved dramatically from the conservative 90s minimalist aesthetic to a modern, expressive maximalist look.
It showed her adaptability and her determination to remain relevant and cutting edge well into the 21st century.
And all this success, strategic management, and brand extension culminate in significant personal wealth.
Forbes estimated her net worth at $550 million in 2024.
Ranking her highly among America's richest self-made women. Her real estate portfolio reflected this massive wealth, including selling her elaborate Jupiter Island, Florida home for $38.5 million in 2017 and her private Montreal Island home for $25.5 million in 2019.
Her wealth is not accidental.
It's a deliberate testament to the success of her calculated risks and strategic planning under the decades-long guidance of René Angélil.
So if we look back at the entire journey, the strategic duality from Quebec star to global force, the remarkable financial success built on that groundbreaking pivot in Las Vegas, and the powerful demonstration of personal strength over the past decade, it's a career built on technical excellence and sheer fortitude.
When we look at that incredible Paris Olympics performance in 2024, it was more than just a song. It was a testament to her battle with stiff person syndrome. She mentioned publicly that her voice is being rebuilt as we speak.
Right.
And considering her past tendency to channel her deepest personal experiences directly into her music, we saw this with the themes of motherhood on A New Day Has Come and her emotional songs following René's death. This raises an important question for the future of her artistry.
What deeper emotional and artistic layers should we anticipate in this next chapter?
Well, her previous power ballads, well, technically perfect, often explored the expansive themes of love and longing. Now, as she transformed her long struggle with SPS and her current health management into a new creative period, how will the resilience needed to manage her health reshape the Queen of Power Ballads?
Will the struggle force a shift away from the technical perfection of the Velvet Glove towards something more raw, more authentic?
Maybe even critically undeniable. We encourage you to revisit her French albums like Dare, or explore the complex, layered perfection of Falling Into You, and ask yourself, what will the voice that has been broken down and rebuilt sound like when it sings about coming back from the brink?